Hello and welcome everyone. Uh, Today, I would like to give an introduction about myself. Personally, I'm an electronics engineer, and I started working as an electronics engineer in a medical device company. And I was pushed into the regulatory affairs accidentally, since there was no one to handle that kind of work in my company. I was asked if I could do it, and I stepped up, and it was a very difficult transition period for me because there were a lot of terminologies used in the regulatory affairs that I had not even heard of. Terms like risk assessment or what basically constitutes in certification process. Everything was completely new for me. And at that point of time, there was the training in the trainings, such training sessions were not there available. So that transition period, it took me a very long period of time. So our main focus over here is for, if people who want to start into the regulatory affairs, your transition period should not be as long. It should, you should at least understand the terminologies used in medical devices certification process, regulatory affairs. Because even if you go to apply for a job or anywhere, like we will discuss, there are a lot of things that you are expected to know before you start. Like Madam said, freshers are not accepted in this field. And there is a reason why that is, because it you take a longer time to grasp. I'm sorry, someone.
Yeah, I am muted.
So, it's the same disclaimer, like Madam, that all the images and all the information we've taken is available freely on the internet. So, what constitutes as regulatory affairs when you first decide, okay, what is regulatory affairs? There is no engineering course and under regulatory affairs. There is no separate degree for regulatory affairs or anything. Even in your biomedical syllabus, there is no particular section for regulatory affairs. There is certain sections of hospital management and everything, but there's not a different section for regulatory affairs. So what comes under regulatory affairs? What when you are a regulatory affairs executive, what does that position mean? What is the importance of that position? So this profession was developed to protect the public health by controlling the safety and efficacy of products in various areas: pharmaceutical, veterinary medicines, medical devices, pesticides, agrochemicals, cosmetics, and some complementary medicines. But when it comes to medical devices, we will be focusing on medical devices. The main reason why safety is paramount when it comes to medical devices is because these medical devices are used on people who are sick. These people are already suffering. They are already in pain, they're already in distress because of their illness, and medical devices are used on these people. So the level of safety for these people, so the level of safety of your medical device has to be at the highest level. And the worst part is, if you are a patient, you are a sick person who has to go to the hospital, you have a lot of things in your mind. You have to think that, okay, is the hospital good enough? Is it, clean enough? Is the doctor going to be good? Is it going to be very expensive? You think about all of this, but not even for a second you think that, is the medical device used on me good or bad? That particular frame of thought does not come to the patient. No one thinks, okay, the needle he's using, is it correct? Is it safe? Is it good to use? Or the what do you say? The injection, or whatever, any medical device, the X-ray machine used on me, is it good? Is it safe to use? And all of that. No, the doctor tells you to get an X-ray. You get an X-ray. So the 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 risks involved with the medical devices are unknowingly accepted by the patient, by the people who basically the user. So it is our duty as regulatory professionals to make sure that these medical devices are as safe as possible, as effective as possible. If it is a diagnostic medical device, if it is an ECG machine that gives a diagnosis, it is our responsibility that the diagnosis it gives has to be as accurate as possible. Small things like, the glucometer where you check your blood sugar levels. If that accuracy is not good enough, even if the accuracy differs by a small margin, that could mean a lot, because somewhere between high and low and normal, the range is not very big. So it is our responsibility as regulatory affairs executives or people who work in this position, that we make sure that the safety and the effectiveness I'm talking about is very, very important. Effectiveness, what the intended use of the product is, that has to be satisfied in any case. If your device is supposed, it is supposed to deliver, whatever it is supposed to do, the intended use, it has to achieve that. Okay, so what includes in regulatory is testing, manufacturing, marketing, making sure that it is, safety, safe and effective to use. All of these things come under regulatory affairs. So when you see this kind of circle, where what all are you supposed to do as if you are in regulatory affairs, what is the responsibilities that you have to handle? So there's a lot of things involved, a lot of moving parts involved, but the key things that you will be responsible for first and foremost is keep track of ever changing legislation in all regions. So in any region your company wants to market, in any country that your company wants to sell your products, you have to be aware of their rules, and these rules changing. These rules, there is constant need of improvement for these rules, and it is done. So you have to be aware that I'm not saying knowing every single rule is a different story. No, you cannot know the standards that we use, the 13485 standard or the 62304 standard or whatever standard. Knowing every single requirement is not what we are saying. You need to be aware. You need to be in loop. You need to go and check online. All the information, fortunately, nowadays is available online. It is your responsibility to go and search for all of these things. It's your responsibility to make sure you know exactly where to search also. What are these legislations and what happens when they change? What is the sense of, that happens through, so it is your responsibility to know all of this. Then advising on legal and scientific restraints and requirements. Certain regulatory positions, certain medical devices, there are certain requirements, legal requirements, certain scientific requirements of standards. Those you need to be able to tell your company, your design team. You should tell your design team that no, you cannot design it this way. This particular risk is unacceptable. You have to tell them, and they have to accept it, because you are telling them from the basis of standards. Okay. Then collating and evaluating scientific data. Now, scientific data, more or less, this scientific data will refer to clinical evaluation. Now, any now if you think about this COVID situation, why do you think it is taking so long to find out a vaccine or a cure? It is because we have to collect data first. We have to collect information, see how this particular vaccine affects other people. You can create the vaccine, you can create it, but how it is affecting, is it helping or is it not helping? Evaluation of your product has to be done. And how evaluation is done? Evaluation is done based on collection of data. Data is collected from a wide sample base, and data is collected, and then you evaluate whether it is effective or not. Then presenting registration documents to regulatory agencies and carrying out any subsequent negotiations. Now, regulatory affairs, the biggest part of that is submissions. Now, everyone over here must have gone through their college submissions. Submissions, you think that, okay, at the last minute, you're just copying whatever someone else has written and you're submitting your application or your files in college. Regulatory submissions are completely different than that. The dossier that you have to make, the technical file that you will have to make is massive. It includes a wide range of documents. Now, there is again a process to be made. Every single regulatory body has their own online portal. US FDA has the FDA website, then his UDAMED is there for CE. Indian has SUGAM portal. So all of these processes, how to upload documents, how to upload content onto the portal, and then apply for submission, everything will be covered in the coming sessions. Because each regulatory notified body has their own online portal, has their own way of submission. That is very, very important. So registration of your company and uploading documents to get the necessary requirements, certification, will be covered in the coming sessions. Now, strategic and technical advice at the highest level, so that making contribution commercial. Now, see, there is a certain requirement in the market for a medical device. The basic requirement for manufacturing companies is that first and foremost, it has to be a sellable product, a product which is there is actually a need for. Sometimes you make a product and there is no need for it and it does not sell. That is again a very, very, even if you get certification for it, or even if you achieve everything, it is safe to use if it is effective, but it is not required in the market. There is no need for it. So first and foremost, the advice, the technical advice that you can give them is how to make a sellable product. You have to do market research for that. What other products are there in the market? Is there actually a need for it? How can we make it more user friendly? How can we make it more available to everyone? That is also a part of your profession. Then helping company avoid problems caused by badly kept records, inappropriate scientific thinking, and poor presentation of data. Now, the biggest problem when it comes to regulatory affairs, especially when it comes to ISO 13485, we think documentation. And every company, if you any company, you'd go to them and you say, sir, you have to make these documents. The first thing is, do I have to make all of them? Is everything mandatory? Is something optional? Can I skip this? Can I not do this? Now, your job as a regulatory affairs position in the regulatory affairs is not only convincing them that they have to make it. You have to make it so that they don't get annoyed by it. So if at all I go to someone and say, sir, you have to fill this form, and this form is 4 pages long, and they're like, oh my god, I don't want to fill this. This is 4 pages, and make a simpler one. It is firstly your job to convince them how important whatever document you ask them to make, what is the importance of that document, how it will be useful in the long run. It is your job. You have to make the document as so that people filling it on a daily basis will not get annoyed by it, will not get more problems by it. Because what happens if we are in the position, especially for ISO 13485, we make the first document. We have to only make the format. The people who have to fill it are the production workers or are the people working in packing department or purchase department. Their job, we cannot make their job more difficult. We cannot make it so that it is impossible for them to do their job and fill out all the requirements also. So it is our job to make sure that whatever documents we give the people to fill out, they have to be easy to fill out, and you have to convince them how important it is that these documents are there and how it will be useful for them in the long run. Now people talk about ISO a lot. So the only reason now, if you think about ISO 9001 and ISO 13485, 13485 is especially regarding medical devices. The reason why these two standards are in place, the 2016 edition of 13485 has been revised for 2019. There has not been any changes in it. The thing is that this system works. ISO 13485 works. It is proven effective. It is proven that these systems are important and they help the company in the good way. So it is your job as regulatory professionals to make sure that you are helping the company, that you are helping them achieve their goals and not causing hindrance by increasing the number of documentation. Okay, so the system that has been created is a good system. It is very, very effective. So it is your job to make sure that the implementation also is good and effective. Now, what I did was I took a certain two or three descriptions I took from Naukri.com only when it comes to regulations and compliance. So let's assume that you are a fresher from of the biomedical industry, or you want to switch your career. And they say that, that regulatory affairs is the new upcoming thing. And you go and search for regulatory affairs. And this is the kind of requirements that you get. This is what you are expected. Education, educational qualification, you have a basic degree in engineering. And now what? So what is the next requirements from you? So you see these terms like risk assessment, product dossiers, submissions, and technical requirements, and SOP. So what does all these mean? So after the next slide that I will explain all the definitions of all these terminologies. But if you are a new person who wants to join into the regulatory affairs, these terminologies are the basic things that you need to know. You need to be aware that this is what it means, this is what the terminology is. Because unlike IT, like Madam said, we cannot, there is no training process that when the company hires you, we don't train you for over 3 to 4 months. We give you a training, induction training, and we give you an overview, and you are expected to start working as soon as possible. So this session, this course will be very helpful if you want to start your career into this. We will give you an overview of every single scenario. If you want to do submission to CE, if you want to do submission to US FDA or the Indian markets, what are the different terminologies used, what are the different requirements that you need, everything will be given to, an overview will be given to you. So if you see, this is another description. You need to know terms like CDSCO, CE marking, loan licensing, QMS, 13485, 9001, all of these things, dossier filling, all of these things become a basic requirement. If you know these basic requirements, then only your, like I said, your transition period, your growth will be quicker. So this is the session, this is the course that you have to take full advantage of and move forward in your career. So there are a lot of terminologies that have been used. One second. Hello. I wanted to ask, am I audible? Because in the chat box, someone said I need to speak a little louder. So.
Yeah, I think you are audible, but that was like previous message. Now you are audible, Sneha.
Okay, all right, thank you.
And please, all of you, please keep yourself on mute. You can continue, Sneha.
Yeah. So the three main regulatory bodies that are in very much in effect right now, firstly will be the Indian regulatory body, which is CDSCO, which stands for Central Drugs Standard Control Organization. And next one is US FDA, which is Food and Drug Administration, and CE marking. Okay, which is, so these three are the European biomarking basically. So these three are notified bodies, regulatory bodies, are the most important ones when it comes to medical devices right now. First, now one thing before we move on to the definitions, I will give you an overview of something called medical device rules. The medical device rules 2017 document. What is this document? This document is a regulation. It's a list of regulations defined by the Indian regulatory body, which is the CDSCO. So what does this regulation say? This regulation describes various things. Firstly, it gives up all the relevant definitions. This particular document is available freely for download, and we can also send it to you if you want. Now, first thing it will talk about is classification. So in Indian medical devices, how the classification is done. Then it will talk about what a manufacturer, if you're a manufacturer, what all roles are required. So if you manufacture a class 1 device, class 2 device, then what is the documentation that you need to upload? If you're a class 2 or 3, what all you need to upload? What are, so everything, all of this will be explained to you in the upcoming session, which will talk about the Sugam portal, which is the Sugam portal is the portal for the Indian regulations. How do we upload on the Sugam portal? How do we make all the documentation? What is the requirements? All of it will be described in the upcoming sessions. But this document, this medical device rule, it is called MDR. Now there are two MDRs which you have to be careful. One is medical device regulation, which is that comes under CE marking, and in India it is called medical device rules. That is why when someone says MDR, you have to specify the 2017 document. If you say that, it means the Indian regulations, the Indian rules. And again, this is available freely for download. You can go and view that document. If you're a manufacturer in India, if you are a manufacturer in India, then you will know that you have to register on this portal before October 2021, and you have to make sure that your medical device is approved. Okay. Now, overall medical device terminology used in USA and Europe. We'll go through each of the definitions one by one. Now, if at all, now these are the definitions given over here. But I would like actually your input also. Do you people know about all of these terminologies? Do you know what 21 CFR Part 11 is? Do you know what 21 CFR Part 820 is? Do you have experience in this area? Anyone, you can unmute and you can explain what you think. Now, definition is given over here, no doubt about it. But do you know how, if I have to download a 21 CFR Part 11, do you know how, from where will I find it? Or anything? Does anyone know anything? We can make it an interactive session so that, okay, I got some replies in the chat box saying no. See, 21 CFR Part 11, CFR stands for Code of Federal Regulations. So 21 CFR Part 11 stands basically how we had MDR 2017, the medical device rules 2017. Similarly, the US FDA documents are called as 21 CFR Part 11 or 21 CFR Part 820. Okay. So this is what it means. The terminology is used is different. So when you go for, like I said, if you want to move into this career, you need to know all of this. So if you go for an interview and they ask you, do you know what 21 CFR is? This is what this course will help you in. So it is basically the requirements, compliance of quality systems. See, these are all rules. If you see what a standard is, if you see ISO 13485, if you see IEC 60601-1, these are set of rules. You have to make sure if these rules are applicable to you or not. If you see this sentence, establishes the acceptance criteria by FDA of electronic records, electronic signatures, and handwritten signatures executed to electronic documents. Then 21 CFR Part 820 talks about quality system requirements. Now, ISO 13485 is the quality management system, okay, which is determined by ISO, which is the International Standard of Organization, international, okay. In India, if you see in this particular document, medical device rule, ISO, the requirements of ISO come under 5th schedule. Now I know this must be a lot of information. I'm throwing a lot of words at you. To simplify, I will say that first, ISO 13485 is an international standard. It talks about quality management system. Quality management system is applicable to your organization if you manufacture medical devices. It will have set of rules for every department, maybe purchase, production, raw material, then outsourcing, or if you have any, and even sales and marketing. It will give a set of rules that will help you maintain quality. That is a quality management system. The quality management system has to be established in the entire organization. These systems, this QMS document has a set of rules and lists. Rules, basically they're rules which you have to follow to maintain quality. It says quality management system. It is there in the title itself. So it will help you maintain quality. Now, these similar rules are there in this Indian regulation also, and the name only the name is fifth schedule, which if you go through this document, you will easily find out. Okay, and in US FDA, the name is 21 CFR Part 820. All of these documents, 21 CFR Part 820, is downloadable on the US FDA website. US FDA is one organization, is one regulatory body where all the information is available to you on their website. You have to go and find out, and how to find out all that information and how to actually access the website will be discussed in the further sessions, upcoming sessions, about how the submission is done, how do you follow these rules, and how do you access these rules. Everything will be available to you. Okay. Next is 510K. Now, again, 510K. Does anyone now? What is 510K? See, 510K is again a US FDA term. Okay. Now there are certain classification of medical devices for class 1, 2, and 3. For them, you 510K pre-market submission is made. What do you mean by now? Okay, I'll give you an example. Suppose you manufacture something called an ECG machine. Okay. Hello. Can you mute yourself? You make something called, and you make an ECG machine. You manufacture an ECG machine, and you want to sell in America, Northern America. So to sell in Northern America, you need what you need is a 510K approval. You need FDA approval. Otherwise, you cannot sell in America. Now, in what happens in that situation is when you decide to sell the product in America, what you have to do is you have to find a device which is previously marketed already in America, which already has a 510K submission. Okay. So that if so similar device, and when I mean similar, I don't mean okay exact carbon copy. No, it has to have technical parameters are similar. Okay, the intended use has to be similar. The outer body or the look might change, but the intended use, the materials, whatever the technical submission, the technical checking done has to be similar. So it is substantially equivalent to that device. If it is substantially equivalent to that device, then and if it is safe and effective, then we can go for a 510K submission, regulatory pre-market submission. Okay, you got my point. So if your device is for class 1, 2, or 3, and you on the again all of the for when it comes to US FDA, all the information is available online easily. Their website is the most user friendly, and every single information is available. Nothing is hidden or there's no paid system over there. Everything is freely also available. So if you can find out a device, predicate device, that is a term used. If you have a predicate device which is similar to yours, and you can demonstrate it is safe and effective to use, you can market that device. You can go for a 510K submission. Okay, that is what is meant by 510K pre-market notification. Then the next term I will talk about is conformity assessment. Now, what is conformity assessment? Conformity assessment basically means that it is to determine that the medical device is safe and performs as intended by the manufacturer. So if you remember the first slide we talked about safety and efficacy. Safety and effectiveness, that is very important. Effectiveness is what you say, it does that. If your device is supposed to give a diagnosis, it will give a diagnosis. If your device is supposed to display some images, it will display some images. Okay, that is the main thing, conformity assessment. Device is safe and performs as intended by the manufacturer. This is very important. You are the people who define the intended use, not the standard. You are the people who define the intended use, okay? And that's why it has to be safe and has to be effective. That is, and medical device must pass conformity assessment to obtain CE marking. Okay, this is what conformity assessment means. If you see the terminology, conformity means what? It is applicable, it is accepted. Non-conformity and conformity. That is what it means. Then the next term that is used very commonly is CAPM. Now, if you have been working in any company, not only medical device or in regulatory affairs, if you're working in a company, you must be aware of the term CAPM, which is corrective action and preventive action. Corrective action, preventive action is part of the QMS, which is Quality Management System. Any mistake, not just mistake, any non-conformity occurring from your behalf, what is the first thing that you do? Suppose something is going wrong. The step one is you correct it. You make sure that you correct the problem. That is correction. Okay. And then you have to make sure you implement another system that will prevent it from happening anywhere else. Now, we can take a very simple example that the raw material that you are purchasing from your supplier is not good quality. Okay, he's not giving you good quality material and it is being used in your medical device. It is hampering the quality of your medical device. What is the correction? You stop that supplier and you move to a different supplier. Okay, but what guarantee is that that other supplier also will give you proper action, proper raw material? The preventive action you implement is you make sure you check the supplier first. You implement an approval system. That is that I will go to the supplier only if he can promise me all of these things. He can promise me quality, he can promise me on-time delivery, he can promise me this and that. That is how you prevent. So correction is important. Your non-conformity correction is very important. But preventing it from happening anywhere else is also equally important. If you have a robust CAPA system, your company will thrive. Trust me on this one. Yes, people think, okay, I have to implement, I have to change my system, I have to do a lot of paperwork. That is the requirement, but it will help you again in the long run. The next thing is CE marking. Now, I don't know if you have most of you must have seen the CE marking on a lot of your devices. A lot of products are CE marked. CE is not just limited to medical devices. It is issue. It has a wide range of products in it. The CE mark is certification obtained by medical device manufacturers for product distribution into European marketplace. So if you want to market in Europe, you need to have a CE mark. So CE marks are issued by third-party organization known as notified bodies. This is very important. Notified bodies. Now, what do these notified bodies do? These notified bodies check conformity assessment. So they first check conformity assessment. They check your documentation. They check your medical device files, and then they grant you the CE mark. Okay. Now you may think, okay, why does this this notified body? How do they get authorization? So these notified bodies are also checked. These notified bodies also have to go through their own audits and their own processes to make sure that they stayed as notified bodies. So they are authorized to give you the CE mark. So they check for conformity assessment and then they give you the CE mark. Then these definitions are alphabetical, okay? So after this session, again, if you have any questions with any of the definitions, we'll go through it again. Then comes clinical evaluation report. Can you please mute yourself? Clinical evaluation report. Now, why is clinical evaluation required? Clinical evaluation basically says that medical device will be performed as expected. There is no safety issues that occur while using it. So when you say the medical, see, over here you can see medical device manufacturers to perform conformity assessment. So conformity assessment includes a lot of documentation. One documentation is the CER, clinical evaluation report. So basically, this clinical evaluation is basic. It is used on a lot of medical, is used in the market, and it is seen whether it performs as expected. There is no safety issues
बंद करो दरवाजा
while using it. Okay. Evaluation report.
अच्छे से बंद कर दो ना
Kanika, can you please mute yourself? Then, current good manufacturing practices. Now, current good manufacturing, see, GMP is good manufacturing practice, CGMP and GMP, basically it's the same thing. Are minimum standards provided by FDA for manufacturing processes and facilities. So, GMP basically good manufacturing practices. GDP is good documentation practices. So these are the just general, again, these are again rules, the minimum standards. Like I said, minimum, these are just the basic requirements. You can go above and beyond and to improve your practices. So good manufacturing practices, it may include a wide range of things. It may include whether it is 5S, your system is clean, your manufacturing area is clean and safe to use for the workers. Because if your workers are the people doing it on a daily basis, it has to be good and safe to use. Now, if you manufacture electronic medical devices, electromedical devices, then I don't know if you're aware of this, but your ICs or the smaller products, they are electrostatic. So if you touch them barehandedly, then due to static discharge, they may become faulty. So do you have practices to avoid that? If at all you have, if your medical devices are implantable, so do you have a sterile facility? If they're implantable, then those devices are going inside someone's body. That means they have to be sterilized. Your accessories that you are providing with the medical devices, are they good? How they are manufactured? Because if you see like a BP cuff or something, a BP cuff is connected to a patient 24/7. If it is not manufactured correctly, or if it is not easy, like if it causes skin irritation to the patient, it is not correct. So these are the areas where good manufacturing practices come into place. Okay. Then design controls. Now design controls are defined. Design controls come in place of USF. Okay, I have a. So what I will do. Can you unmute yourself and ask question if you have? Hello. Because okay, in the chat I have one question that says, what is difference between CFR and conformity assessment? So it is CFR, if I'm not mistaken, it means this CFR, or
I will explain. CFR is a code of federal regulations from the US FDA, and we are bound to follow the regulation. So there is a difference between rules and regulations, standards, guidance. So you should understand different terminology being used in the different segment. So if you go to pharma, the ICH is a guidance. ICH is an International Council on Harmonization who design all the guidances relevant to quality, safety, efficacy, and multidisciplinary. Like this, in US FDA, there are several parts, that is 21 CFR parts, out of which 21 CFR part 11 is specifically used for the electronic records and electronic stuff. Whereas there are other part like 21 CFR part 820 is used for the medical devices when we talk about the quality system regulations. So these you can easily find from the US FDA site. If you Google that CFR parts, you will find all different parts. And then coming to second question, like what is the difference between CFR and conformity assessment? Conformity assessment, again, you have to confirm whether your product is of good quality and meeting all the requirement as per the predetermined specifications, So you have to certify that your product is of good quality and you are issuing certificate. That is a conformity assessment. You have to assess yourself. And these are the different terms used in Europe, US, and so on. Then I saw one more question, that is, what is sterilization? Does it come in a medical device industry? Of course, suppose if your device requires any specific sterilization, before using for the patient, then sterilization is also involved. Lots of equipment are sterilized before using in the patient. During surgery, you would have seen so all equipment or the items used before surgery has to be sterilized to kill the microorganism. Am I right? Then what is, I think 510K. Okay. So 510K is an application which is provided in US FDA to get whenever you want to market your product in US FDA, you have to select the path of 510K or pre-market approval. So there are specific requirement when you go for application based on your risk based on the classification of your device. So there are different classes, class 1, 2, 3, and basis of this classification, the risk assessment, you have to go for the 510K. Sometimes if your device is very low risk and falls under class 1, they can exempt, you can get the exemption from US FDA for 510K. 510K is nothing but it is an application. Like in pharma industry, how we apply for IND, NDA, ANDA. What is meant by NDA? New drug application. ANDA, abbreviated new drug application. CTA, clinical trial application. So like that, 510K is an application sent for getting marketing approval from US market, US FDA. I hope you understood all this terminology. Say yes or no. You can unmute and talk to me.
There is certain one question from Kshitij who says CER, if he can explain again.
Yeah. CER. So clinical evaluation report. So as I Sneha nicely mentioned that, see, we are here to protect our public health. Only regulatory bodies are there to protect public health. And to protect public health, we have to meet three basic requirements, that is quality, safety, and efficacy. In case of medical device, performance is also very important. So when we talk about quality, so we say that our products, all medical devices are manufactured under good quality environment, under good GMP. GMP is good manufacturing practices. So we are following all good manufacturing practices as per, in India, we follow Schedule M, whereas when we talk about US FDA, we follow 21 CFR Part 820. So even in India, we follow 21 CFR Part 210 and 211. So it is a sort of guidance and the regulation, and we are bound to follow those guidances when we define quality. So when we talk about the quality, the GMP is very important. Coming to GLP, GLP is a good laboratory practices. And when we analyze our product by using different equipment, if you manufacture product by different using different machinery, then those machines, those equipments have to be calibrated, have to be qualified, have to be validated. Even the method used to analyze your product has to be validated. So all these terms you will be hearing when you work in the pharmaceutical, biotech, medical device industry, like equipment qualification, calibration, validation. All these are very, very important when we talk about quality. Then come to GDP. GDP is a good documentation practice, and all the data, all the documents, all records which are gathered together in the form of dossier or in the form of application, has to be very nicely presented to any health authority. Sometimes what happened, we have to follow CTD or any particular format of the specific country. Now, suppose if we have to market our product, pharmaceutical product in US, Europe, Canada, these are all highly regulated market. And they ask us to follow the eCTD format. eCTD is nothing but electronic common technical documents. So like this, there are so many country specific format and we have to follow. Then coming to, I think I have answered most of the question.
Yes.
Thank you so much. So Sneha,
Yeah.
you can continue. Maybe we can take remaining question answer after your session. Yeah,
Okay.
just have patience. We will finish her session and then we'll talk to you, each one of you. Okay. Thank you, Sneha. You can continue.
Yeah, one thing before we continue, I would like to say is that basically when it comes to regulatory affairs, there is predetermined rules and standards, country specific predetermined rules and standards. So it may be ISO 13485, or it may be electromedical standards, it may be clinical evaluation standards, it may be good documentation practices standards, or CFR, or whatever. These are all already determined, they are in place. Your job as a regulatory affairs is make sure that your manufacturing company and your product complies with them. Conformity assessment, make sure that they are conforming to all the requirements of the standards. Okay, and these standards, they are mandatory standards, all of them. So you have to make sure whatever is applicable to your device as per your intended use, your medical device has to comply with all of these given standards. Okay. Now, I will go on to the next definitions. I will try to go a little slower and make sure everyone understands. Then design controls. Design controls, they are defined by FDA. It is basically a process that ensures specific design requirements. Okay. Now, design requirements. Now, when it comes to design and development of the medical device, there are various measures that you have to follow. First step is that you have to follow the if see your company, depending on where your company wants to market. If your company wants to market in India, they have to follow the Indian medical device rules, design and development processes given. If they want to market in Europe, then they have to follow ISO 13485 requirements. If they want to follow if they want to market in FDA, in US, then the FDA 21 CFR Part 820. So these are specific design requirements. So how are they met? These design requirements, they are met by documented procedures that control design of medical device. Now, how do you control design? So basically, you have to have your design input, your design verification, validation, your design change. So when you change your design of your medical devices, what is the effect of that change? How does it affect? Does it affect negatively the device? Does it increase the risk? Does it benefit? How does it benefit? All of these changes, all of these documentations, they create what you say a design history file. That is what design control is. Okay. The purpose of design control is to demonstrate that a medical device is safe, effective, and performs as expected. Now, I have used these terminologies again and again: safe, effective, and performs as expected. Okay. This is the hallmark for as a regulatory professional. When if you use these terminologies with people, they'll be like, okay, yeah, this person knows something. So device quality, safety, and efficacy, these three terms, they have to be your whole and soul now. Okay. Now, design history file. So now there are three things: design history file, design history record, and design master record. Now, design history file. Now, like I mentioned, your design control, the previous document that you suppose if there is a change in your design, when you decide to develop a medical device, you don't make okay, in the first go, everything is on perfect, nothing is wrong with your device. No, you have to make a prototype. You see whether it is working, what changes it needs, what improvement you can make on it. All that is taken into consideration. And that is how your design history file is created. All documentation related to design and development of a medical device. All documentation. Now, what all it includes in this documentation is given in the 21 CFR Part 820, and it will also be explained in the upcoming sessions. So, your design input forms, your design control forms, your design change forms, your design verification and validation forms, all of them will be included in the design history file. Okay. Then your design history record. Design history records is acts as a record of production. Now you, in the design and development department, you create the form. Okay, this is how it is supposed to happen, and this is how production is. This is how everything will happen. But when actual production starts, there are different set of problems. Correct. So those problems are addressed in the design history record. So when you do suppose batch manufacturing, so you produce a batch of 5,000 and then you realize, okay, something was wrong. I need to change my design and all of that. So that is what is there. See over here, if you can see, acceptance record for units or batches of products. So that is what is important. So I'll give you an example now. When your product is manufactured, suppose your worker, your employee is working on it, he's doing some manual work on the product, and then finally it has to be sent to the customer. Now before it is sent to customer, there is something called QC check. If you see any electronic item, your laptop, if you see when you receive, there is a small sticker on it said QC check is done. What is that QC check? That QC check is what the quality of that device once it is manufactured is finally checked. Okay, that is very important. So after manufacturing, is there any problem in it? Did the worker make any mistake? Is there any issue with it? Is the raw material faulty? All of that will be checked. The functional performance will be checked. And then the final QC check is given. So QC check for every product you have to maintain, and that becomes your records. Those become your records. So you can say when you approach US FDA, you tell them that, okay, we check every single medical device. We make sure that every single medical device is quality is checked and it is safe to use. That is what is required over here. Then design master record. Now, what does your master record include? It includes now your design development, your product when it is made. There is different types of documents that you need. First is your manufacturing drawing, your manufacturing process. That is very important. So you purchase raw material from this supplier. This is the raw material you purchase. And the raw material specific, then you do following processes on the raw material. You join these parts, you include PCB or you include screen, there is software, everything. All of that is combined to make your medical device. So your design master record will include instructions for manufacturing, drawings. Now drawings of your, say, outer box, the drawings of your outer box or drawings of any wiring that you use in it. What are the particular specifications of the medical device? Then what all labeling. So what all labeling do you do on the medical device? What all packaging? What are requirements for packaging? How do you package the medical device? All of these will be maintained as a part of your design device master record. Okay. And now if there is a change, if you decide to change the packing of it, again, then it will go under design history also. And then design history file also will include the change, and a design master file will also change. Okay. So it has to be interlinked. You make your master file and now it is made and there is no change in this for the next 10 years. That is not going to be the case. Based on customer feedback, based on your company requirements, based on regulations, based on something that supplier is not available, anything might change. So your device master record is not finalized. Once it is done, it is not end of the story. Okay. Now comes EU Medical Device Regulations, EU MDR. EU MDR, like I said, now if you remember the first slide I showed you, MDR, Medical Device Rules, 2017. That document reports to the Indian regulations. EU MDR 2017/745 relates to the European regulations. These are a set of rules published by the European standard, European countries to achieve conformity assessment basically. So if you want to sell your product in Europe, you have to you have to conform your device to EU MDR 2017/745. So medical device regulation, which regulation, remember the two distinct distinctions because people get confused. MDR 2017, you have to specify EU MDR 2017/745. That means the European regulations, and MDR 2017 is the Indian regulations. These two are completely different documents. You have to understand that, okay? Please. It is a common mistake which is done everywhere. They say, okay, do you have experience in MDR? Yeah, I have worked on Indian MDR. No, you have to be specific. EU MDR, which is medical device regulation for the European countries, and MDR for the Indian countries. These two are different, okay? The next is European Database on Medical Devices, which is EUDAMED. Now, I have used this term EUDAMED before. So how US FDA also has their own portal. EUDAMED is the portal for this thing, European Union. Now, how do you access this portal and how do you get information and how do you see all of these documentation will be explained in the upcoming sessions, but this is the portal. So it is developed by European Commission to facilitate compliance with European medical device regulations. Okay, it is intended to function as multi-purpose system for registration, collaboration, communication, and everything. So if you want to register your device, you have to register with EUDAMED. That is what it means. It is basically the online portal for Europe. So if you make a table, it will be easier. What we'll do is we can make a small table for the Indian regulations. If you want to market in India, these are the regulations you have to follow, and this is the portal for it. If you want to market it in Europe, what are the regulations you have to know, and what is the rules you have to follow. Then Food and Drug Administration, FDA. Now again, FDA, everyone has heard of FDA. So FDA basically again is an online portal where all the information is available. And if you want to register your device, if you want to sell your device in US FDA, you have to register your device on the US FDA portal, get the 510(k) or pre-market approval from FDA, and then you can sell your device in USA. Then now this is a very, very important thing, IEC 60601. Now, what does IEC stand for? IEC is International Electromedical Standard. So if you manufacture an electromedical equipment, so if your medical device has electronic components in it. Now, if you see, medical devices are wide range. They can come, syringe is a medical device, wheelchair is a medical device, your N95 mask is a medical device. These devices don't have any electronic components in them. So this particular standard is not applicable to them. But if you make a device like defibrillator, ECG machine, if you make BP apparatus or anything, these devices which has any electronic component in it, or if you even your physiotherapy equipments or anything which have electronic items, electronic components in them, then this particular standard is applicable to you. Any medical device containing electronics must pass necessary requirements outlined by IEC. So these are set of requirements that have been laid out, and your device has to comply with them. Okay, then programmable electrical medical devices. Now, see, medical devices, they come under there's a lot of requirement, there's a lot of things. So step one is that your medical device has electronic components, but it has electronic component, but there is no program that you can enter into. Like I cannot program, the user cannot program the medical device. Then there are certain where you can enter programs, you can select. There's a computer software that comes along with it also. So all of these requirements are addressed in IEC 60601-1. It also covers mechanical safety labeling and risk management. Now, what exactly is risk management? We will come to in the next slides. Then comes IEC 62304. This is also very, very important. Now, if your medical device, again, there are certain medical devices that have electronic components, but they don't have any software in them. And then there are which have some software in it. Now, if you take an example of an ECG machine, which is diagnosis, which is giving diagnosis. So if it is giving diagnosis, that means it has some sort of algorithm in it, some sort of software in it. So if you have that software, your software has to be approved. It has to comply with the requirements of IEC 62304. Okay, so that is very important. Now, ISO 13485. Now, I have spoken a lot about ISO 13485. I will give an overview again. See, ISO 13485 is specifically designed for medical device quality management system, QMS. If you want to be working in the regulatory department, regulatory affairs area, the word QMS should be in your blood. It has to be. QMS will be your bread and butter. It will, everywhere you go, first step is QMS. You have to make sure that your medical device manufacturing company aligns with the quality management system. Okay. Now, again, the quality management system may vary from country specific. If it is in India, it will make different. It might be different. If it is Europe, it might be different. And if it is in US, it might be different. But it has to follow a certain QMS. 13485 is the most used one. It is the one that is applicable to most of the countries. So QMS, what it does, it outlines basic requirements what your manufacturing company should follow to maintain quality. Okay, that is the basic requirement of what ISO 13485 does, quality management system. Now I will skip one, come to the next, that is ISO 9001. Now, what happens is there are certain companies that make medical devices that can be used for non-medical purposes as well. Now, for example, due to this COVID situation only, if you see the N95 masks, they're not just used by medical professionals. They are used by every single person. They're used by normal people also nowadays. So that becomes, so they can be sold, they're sold everywhere. They're sold online, they're sold on Amazon, they're sold in the pharmacy, your local pharmacy. So that becomes a non-medical use. Even though it is a medical device, to be used for non-medical device, then you have to follow the 9001 standard. Okay. Now, one more example is the Buffon cap. So if you remember, if you see the caps that are used by food servers, especially in malls or in public places, your catering people or everything, they use a cap to make sure that the hair does not fall in the food or anything. Those kind of caps, they can be used for medical devices as well, and they can be medical needs also, and they can be used for non-medical use also. So then in that case, you have to follow the ISO 9001 standard. Okay, this is similar quality management standard, but the difference is this only. For if you're making products that are specifically for medical use, then you have to follow only 13485. If they are for non-medical use, you have to follow 9001. Now, ISO 14971. Now I can imagine that all of these numbers, previously I said 62304, 9001 and 14971. Once you start working in this industry, I guarantee you, these names will be by heart. Trust me. Right now, they may seem a little confusing. They may seem like, oh my God, so many numbers. How will I remember and everything? Just give it 6 months. Once you start working in this, it will be very, very easy for all of you. We have a few sessions also. You will understand everything. So 14971, what it refers to is firstly, risk management of medical devices. Now, if you remember, the first thing that I said is that your medical device is safe to use. Safety of your medical device. Why safety is so important in your medical device? Because it is being used on sick people, it is being used on patients. And when the patient comes into the hospital, he is not thinking about the medical device being used on him. He is thinking of a lot of things. He's thinking of the money, he's thinking about his own health, he's thinking about how the doctor is, all of that. But he's not thinking about the medical devices used on him. So he's unknowingly accepting your medical device, however it is, whether it is risky to use or it is not risky to use or whatever it is. But it is our job to make sure that we make the medical device as risk free as possible. So risk management is one of the most important aspects when it comes to your medical device. As a regulatory affairs professional, if you know how to do an effective risk management of your medical device, it will be one of the most great, one of the best skills you can have as a regulatory affairs professional. We will have a session about ISO 14971, which will in detail show you what exactly, how to do risk management, how do you get the risk criteria, what the severity, everything, all of this will be discussed in detail. But you need to know the terminology. 14971 talks about risk management and why risk management is very, very important when it comes to the medical device. Okay. Now, pre-market approval. The way we spoke about 510K, similarly, pre-market approval. Now, if your medical device, you see, like I said, if your medical device is class 1 to class is based on your classification, you can apply for 510K. Basically, 510K, difference between 510K and PMA is that 510K, you will not need clinical trials. Clinical evaluation part can, but if you make high risk devices, clinical trials which involve human participants cannot be cannot be skipped. It has to be done. Now, for example, if your device is something like an MRI or your AED machine, AED is automatic external defibrillator. That means if you see, in flights and everywhere in the malls nowadays, there is a machine. If you have, heart cardiac arrest or something, they put the probes, electrodes on you, and a shock is given to your system. If you've seen in the movies, the defibrillator is used, charged to 200, and they show that. So that is 200 joules of energy that is given to the user. So that is a very high energy given. So that is a big high risk device. So if it is a high risk device, you will have to go for pre-market approval. You cannot go for 510K. So based on your classification, it depends whether you can go for 510K or pre-market approval. Then comes post-market surveillance or PMS. PMS or PMCF, post-market clinical approval, everything. Basically after, so what it says, post-market. So once it is, after it is sold to be used by patients, that is gathering data on the performance of medical device. Now, normally you feel like, okay, is it like a feedback form? Is it good to use? It is bad to use? No, it is not that kind of form. Post-market surveillance basically checks the intended use is achieved or not. So if your medical device says that, my medical device is, if I make a defibrillator, it is supposed to deliver a 200 joule shock. Does it actually do that? Does it help the patient? What was the patient's name? What was the patient's age? Now, if your device is, if at all you manufacture a device like an X-ray, if the X-ray is supposed to give you image of your bones and see whether it is broken or how it is broken or where it is broken, and if the doctor cannot determine that from the X-ray, then your X-ray, that machine is not good enough. So that is what is covered in post-market surveillance. Post-market surveillance is not like a customer feedback. Okay, these are two different things. Please remember, customer feedback form that we fill, in normal, after maybe like in a restaurant or something, that is very different. You can, your post-market surveillance form cannot be, is it good or bad? Is it easy to use? Is it user friendly? No, that is not what is, that is one part which is checked. Yes, that has to be checked. But the performance of the device is more important. That is the basic requirement of it. Okay. Your feedback has to be there, no doubt about it. Feedback matters, but performance, how it is performing, is the intended use achieved? That is very, very important. Then comes quality assurance. Now, I have been focusing on quality. Quality assurance is basically a method to use to prevent defective and non-conforming products. See, quality assurance, like I said, if you remember, I gave an example, the QC check, quality check. The next definition is quality control only. See, two different things. QA is what it will check in that, how whether quality is maintained in product development stage, testing processes, and after also is after manufacturing also QA is done. Okay, so quality assurance is checked in those processes. So I'll explain QC first and then I'll come to QA. See, QC is basically checked during manufacturing. See, QC, when a worker is working on a product, suppose if he's manufacturing something, okay, he's supposed to join wire A to wire B. Instead, he connects it to wire C. That is a wrong situation, correct? So the QC check what it is supposed to do. They are making sure that, okay, it is connected to wire B only and not to wire C. That is what is checked in QC. Your raw material also is checked in QC. Whatever raw material you purchase, your supplier, you're trusting your supplier. So trusting your supplier blindly is not an option. You have to check your raw material that comes in your factory to make your to make your medical device as well. So that is a part of QC. QA is basically your processes are checked or not. So if at all, I have to connect, like I said, same example, wire A to wire B. Well, is that correct itself? As a worker, I will just read, yeah, connect wire A to wire B, I'll connect that. But is that step itself correct? That is checked during QA. QA and QC, they are both a part of the quality management system. They're very, very important in the quality management system. So the next definition is quality management system only. This I think I have explained a lot. So basically it is an organization tool for implementing and maintaining quality. Just 1 minute, okay? Risk analysis. Now, risk analysis, like I mentioned, 14971, that standard. It will talk about, it will in detail, we will discuss about everything. But one thing which I would like to say right now is risk analysis. Now, risk management. What is risk management basically? Management is what? I've identified the risk and I have to now mitigate that risk to make sure it is not risky to everyone to use. Now, I'll give you a very, very simple example. The parcels, the plastic bags that are used. If you see on the plastic bag, there's a big warning sign written. Do not put over the head. It may cause suffocation and everything. Now, why is that given there? Because things have happened. There is a possibility that people might put it on the head and everything. So that is a risk that could be there because of the plastic bag. And that risk has been managed by putting that warning sign over there. Now, every single person who makes a plastic bag cannot go to every single people's house and tell them that don't put it on your head, it may cause you suffocation. So they put it on the labeling itself that do not do that. Or if you see small, even your toilet cleaners and everything, they have written down that if you don't make sure it doesn't come in contact with children, keep away from children. Or even your tablets that you take. The tablets that you take have a child lock that children cannot open the tablet box. That is also a type of risk management that is done. So as a regulatory affairs professional, your job would be to analyze these risks, to foresee these risks. What could go wrong? Now, you cannot predict human behavior. You cannot predict how each and every individual person will act. So you have to make sure you foresee every single type of risk. What all could go wrong? And this is a process of evaluation. Now, for example, the child lock in the cars, if you see the back seat of the cars have a child lock, that was not always there, but over the period of time that has been improved, that has been improved, and that is why that has been put over there. So your product, your risk management file cannot be ready once it is done and it is finished. No, it has to continuously evolve. There is certain standard requirements for risk management also, which you have to follow, but most of them are about what risks could arise from the use of your medical device. Now, if you manufacture something, you know exactly how it works. But if a new person is using that machine, first he will like, okay, what to do? What are these buttons? What is that supposed to do? What is this supposed to do? They might make a mistake in using the machine itself. So that could cause some risks as well. So whenever you talk about risk management, make sure that every single risk has foreseen. Whatever could go wrong, it has to be prevented, and some mitigation level has to be there. Okay, so if you see in the risk management file, to identify, control, and prevent hazards risks hazards and risks that of or harm that might arise during use of medical device. Now, during use of medical device, you can't expect the humans, every single person, to use the medical device perfectly. You provide the user with a user manual. A big fat user manual is provided. Now tell me honestly, how many of you also, when your new laptop comes or when your new TV comes, you go through the user manual first, or you want to see what all features are there? So reading the user manual is not the first instinct of humans. That is very, very true. So it is your job that even if it is given in the user manual, you try to prevent as many risks as possible. Okay. Again, all of this will be discussed in detail in the 14971 standard session. Sorry.
So our course comprises of all these topics, and that's why this terminology, whatever we are using, will definitely be helpful during the course curriculum. No?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
1 minute. Then comes substantial equivalence. Now, if you if you remember the 510K submission, when we discussed the 510K submission, I talked about substantial equivalence. So we have to select a predicate device. A predicate device is what? A device which is similar to your device. Similar as in similar in intended use and similar technical specifications. And once that is the similarity, the substantial equivalence has been proven, you have to also prove that your device is safe and effective. Once that is there, your substantial equivalence has been achieved. Now, how substantial equivalence has been achieved and everything in detail is available on the FDA website, or it will be discussed in the upcoming sessions. Next is summary technical documentation, STED. So STED is a document, is a format which can be used to record required information about how medical device was designed, developed, manufactured for submission of regulatory authority or notified body. So basically, STED is the required documentation that you need for your technical file. So what does your technical file comprise of? Is what is included in STED. Again, all of these, which documents are needed, what is needed is given, will be discussed in the upcoming sessions. Next is standard operating procedure or SOP. Now, if your manufacturing system has QMS, then you must have heard about the term SOP. So basically, what does an SOP stand for? SOP is, like the word says, standard operating procedure. The procedure is created by the organization to make sure that the routine procedure. Now, for example, we take the example of a purchase procedure. If I am working in purchase department and I have to purchase raw materials, what is my steps? What are the procedures that I have to follow? So my SOP will include, okay, first I need to find a supplier. Okay, then I need to approve the supplier. Okay, then I need to make sure that whatever I am buying from the supplier, he provides good quality. Okay, then I need to get quotation from him. Then I need to make sure that I get the approval of the quotation. All of these steps, 1, 2, 3, 4, but I have to do to make sure to get raw material. So that is included in the standard operating procedure. Now the procedure for, let's say, in quality check. So quality check, if the procedure is what? Okay, firstly turn on the machine, I turn it on. Then the next step is that make sure the functional performance is good. Make sure there are no scratches or anything on the outer body of the medical device. So all of these are operating procedures. So SOP is defined for every area of the manufacturing unit. So SOP for purchasing, SOP for production, SOP for quality check, SOP for regulatory department. So if the regulatory department, if you work in the regulatory department, there is an SOP for reporting to regulatory authorities. So if I have to report to a regulatory authority, what is the procedure that I follow? So all of these systems are written down. The basic intent for this system is that it is standardization. So everyone in the company will follow it. So if there are 2 people working in purchase department, I cannot skip one single step. Okay, if someone else is doing all the steps, I'll be like, okay, she's doing, why do I need to do? No, these steps are written down to make sure that there is standardization, consistency of quality is maintained. Okay, so that is what SOP stands for. Then comes technical file. Technical file or design dossier for class 3. See, a technical file basically is, like I said, the STED, if you saw the previous definition. Technical file is includes medical device design, composition, intended use, function, clinical evaluation, conformity assessment, CER. All of these documents conform of your technical file. Technical file is, if you go to your job description and then you say that I have experience in compiling technical files, you will go straight up the list. You will be the first person to be hired, because technical file is one of the biggest and the most important aspects of regulatory affairs position. If you can compile a comprehensive technical file, that is an extremely important skill to have, right? And your technical file comprises of files like risk assessment, clinical evaluation, all of this. You may have expertise in one of these things, but compiling all of them together is also a very big task. Your technical file is not a Word file of 10 pages. No, it is thousands and thousands of pages, multiple documents, getting them together, making sure you can compile them, making sure that they're interlinked is a very big task. Normally, some companies, they use a software for it. Some companies which are smaller in size, they may use a manual process. They may use Microsoft Office and everything. Everything is accepted, but they have to be extremely comprehensive. They have to have, the flow has to be correct. Every document has to have numbering. Every document has to make sense. Why it is there? What is the use of the document? Everything. Okay. The next definition is unique device identification, or UDI. Now, UDI is basically used because each device manufactured, every type of device has an identification. So when, why this identification is very important. Traceability of medical devices is very important. So from the, suppose if there is if something is wrong with you have this, I'll give you an example. If your medical device has been distributed, it has been sent to customers, say 1,000 customers, and then you realize that, oh, there is something wrong with my medical device. You understand the fault later and there is a recall. When you recall your medical devices, you have to inform the regulatory authorities that there has been a recall. Then you send all of the customers an apology note, an advisory notice, saying that the device has to be recalled. If that machine device has to be recalled, and what all the problems that we have faced in it, and how do you trace what the problem was from to the raw material supplier or everything, whatever it is, it has to all be traceable. Now, if I don't know if you're aware of this, but the Johnson & Johnson hip implant, the reason why medical device regulations was made more stringent is because of the hip implants. So hip implants were implants were placed in people's hips and then they were found to be faulty. So after these things were inside of people and then they were causing problems to the people. Can you the ramifications of that were so high, and that is why things like UDI and verification validation, everything was made more stringent. Okay. I think the last definition is verification and validation. Verification and validation is basically testing and confirming whether medical device meets the design procedure and is ready to be released for manufacturing. You have designed a medical device. Okay, that is done. Now you have to verify and validate that medical device. Okay, first verification is done. Verification and then validation. Once that is done, then only your product can be released for manufacturing. So that is why prototype testing is there. You make a prototype, you verify that design, you validate that design. Design verification ensures that you have designed the device correctly. And design validation ensures that you have designed the correct device. Okay, so design verification and validation again is a very, very important part of regulatory. It is part of the design team. So your design team, if it is a mechanical device, your mechanical team, if it is a N95 mask, it is your fabric textile team. If it is an electromedical device or electronics engineers, all of them will be a part of design and design verification and validation because they have designed it. Okay, but as a regulatory affairs professional, your job will be to making sure that they are following standard requirements. They are following predetermined requirements and specifications. Okay. Again, we will have a separate session on design verification and validation, how it is done, how it is part of quality management system also. Everything will be discussed in the upcoming sessions. So basically, the reason for why this session was included was because see, if you are going to be attending the further sessions, if you do not understand this basic terminology, it is going to be difficult for you to keep up with the trainer. The trainers that we have, they have a lot of experience in each of these departments. So our job is to make sure that you understand the terminology that they are using. Otherwise, if they use terms like VNV or technical file they use 510K or pre-market submission and everything, substantial equivalence is used. You have to understand these terminologies. So what I would recommend is that before your next session, we will share this PPT with you. Please go through these definitions. These are this is just the, what do you say? I've just skimmed the entire page. Actually, there are so many things that we still need to know. This is just the basic, what you need to know, especially for the upcoming session. So this PPT will be shared by you. And you please, I request you sincerely, go through these definitions again. At least, even if you don't know what these exactly mean, understand remember the terminology at least. The UDI, the technical file, or the substantial equivalence, risk assessment, 14971. These terms, if you have not heard of them, it will be difficult for you at first. But if you are willing to learn, trust me, once you understand these things, nothing like it. I can speak from personal experiences that I did not know anything. I did not even know 1, 3, 4, 8, 5 when I started working over here. But now I understand all of these terminologies. I have been working in this only for 1.5 to 2 years. Still, I understand all of these. Why? Because I have been working on it continuously. I made sure to understand every single definition, what it means. And to be very, very honest, all of this information is available online also. You go to Google and you search, you will get everything. Okay, so it is your responsibility. If you want to improve your career, then you have to make an effort. You have to make sure that you understand these definitions. Attending a training session is part one of it, but to understand the training session is also thing. No, you cannot just, okay, I have attended this training and I have certificate to prove it. That is not enough. If you don't understand the training session itself, then you are not enriching yourself. Okay, so I would please recommend you to go through these definitions again. If you want me to explain anything again, please let me know. Madam is also there. She will also explain. I will also explain. But I would, again, strongly recommend just go through it once again. And we will share this PPT with you. Now, if there are any other questions, please, I would request you to unmute and ask so that we can go through these definitions again. And I really, really hope that you at least, some of you at least understood some of the definitions that we were going through.
Yeah, thank you, Sneha.